And Ed, in terms of this weekend's deportation flights, the Trump administration doubling down, saying it didn't violate that federal judge's orders. It claims the third flight had no connection to the use of this Alien Enemies Act proclamation. What more can you tell us about what the administration is saying and the timeline they're giving?
So remember, there's the gang members, the alleged gang members from Tren de Aragua and MS-13 that the White House has said were being removed using the Alien Enemies Act, which is now subject to this legal challenge. And then there were a handful that were being deported through what was a standard Title VIII. I'm just trying to find, they had Title VIII final removal orders already, which means they'd been through the process. The administration is saying that the third flight that left on Saturday, after the judge issued the oral and then written order to turn flights around, just so happened to be the flight that was carrying everyone who'd already had their Title VIII removal hearings. In essence, not necessarily applicable to the legal challenge regarding the Alien Enemies Act. I think the judge is probably going to be asking for proof of that at some point, because that just seems to be either a great coincidence or, an interesting story. There have been a lot of issues and concerns raised since Saturday about whether everyone on that series of flights was, in fact, an alleged Tren de Aragua or MS-13 gang member. There have been some reports today that some people who were on those flights, in fact, are not, at least according to their friends and family. And so the judge, in asking for this information, is trying to establish who specifically was on that flight. How many more people like them could you be trying to send to El Salvador, or at least deport from the country? And they had to issue much of that information today. But in essence, the Justice Department laying out the timeline, saying that the two flights that had gone, had left by 7:25 p.m., and that the third plane that left after the orders were issued, in essence, had nothing to do with the crux of the legal challenge, which is whether or not the president can use the Alien Enemies Act to remove undocumented immigrants who are believed to be violent, or in the case of the president's interpretation, enemies of the nation.
And Ed, Trump is calling for the judge overseeing that case to be impeached. Chief Justice John Roberts issued a rare statement about that. What can you tell us?
Well, he doesn't speak out that often outside of a court opinion or a court decision on anything, really. But there were inquiries, apparently, to the Supreme Court today, according to the Supreme Court, who issued a rare statement from the Chief Justice responding to the president, saying that for more than 2 centuries, it has been established that impeachment is not an appropriate response to disagreement concerning a judicial decision. The normal appellate review process exists for that purpose. In other words, you got an issue with a judge, keep appealing it. And if it gets to the Supreme Court, we'll deal with it there. Justice Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, has spoken out a handful of times in the past publicly rebuking statements by the president. You may recall, for example, during his first administration, he raised questions about an Obama judge. Well, at that point, the chief, in essence, said, we are not Obama judges or Bush judges or Clinton judges, red judges or blue judges. We're all federal judges working to carry out the rule of law, interpret the law, and nobody should be targeting judges in this way. It has been a big concern of his and the entire judicial community for the last several years, that by making statements like that, you're potentially putting judges at risk, their staffs at risk, their families at risk. And we know of cases, of course, where Supreme Court justices especially have been targeted by people on both sides of arguments, on all ends of the ideologies, for decisions they made that those people did not like. By hearing the Chief Justice speak out so quickly after the president made that social media statement early this morning, it's a sign that he's closely watching and still deeply concerned about that kind of rhetoric.
Ed O'Keefe, thank you.